Hello there, my wonderfuls on Instagram, and hello there to you too, to my wonderfuls on Facebook. I have a feeling I'm not even live on Instagram. I don't think I am, but I'm live on Facebook, so that's kind of cool. All right, so while we're trying to figure out what's going on here, let me say my quick hello to you, and I'll stop that, and I'm just going to hand this over to my handy, part of Katie's being played by Katie. Anyway, I'm Donna Hoffman. They call me the Interior Design Advocate. And that is because I advocate on behalf of design lovers everywhere, professional design lovers, building their businesses, design lovers, working on their own home. I know how to teach design. I know how to teach the business of design, and I know how to break it down into manageable parts. And hello to you on Instagram, little technical problem. Hi, I'm Donna. So good to see you here. Welcome, welcome to our Tuesday Instagram Live and Facebook Live. They call me the Interior Design Advocate, as I was just starting to say, because I advocate on behalf of design lovers everywhere who are working on your own home or who are building your own business. I know how to teach the business of design, the business of the business in ways that women just love, and it really moves the needle for them. So we've paid a lot of attention for a long time to our design lovers, and our designers have been saying, hey, show us some love too. We need some TLC from you as well, Donna. So we are now paying more attention to our design lovers who are professional design lovers as well. So I get a lot of questions about how to bill. So in today's Instagram Live and Facebook Live, I'm going to be looking at the two most common billing strategies. I think there's a third, but that would be a larger discussion. But I want to drill into the two most common to dispel some myths and look at the risks and the rewards of both. And if you have a question about your design business that you would like to ask me, once I am done teaching, I am happy to stick around to be able to answer your question. So there are risks to the designer as well as to the client based upon the type of billing that someone is doing. Let's look at those risks and the rewards or the benefits. And let's first start by drilling into what are the two most common fees, and that is hourly billing, and the other is fixed fee. With fixed fee billing, a client is given a fixed fee to cover their entire project. The client knows exactly what will be required on the financial side. With hourly services, it is fee by work rendered, and it is fee by hour. Just like a knowledge worker, like an accountant, or like, I don't know, a speech therapist who's coming to your home and working with your child, or a trainer who's working by the hour coming to your home. It's a knowledge worker. That's really what a designer is. Let's back up a little bit. What designers do is we monetize creativity. Not an easy thing to do in today's world that places a much easier definable on more concrete things. So monetizing creativity, selling intellectual property and service, which is what a designer does, is how this whole fee and charging discussion can get a little dicey. So I have to say that I have worked in a number of different ways, both really everything you can imagine. And I think there are ways to minimize the risks of either way of charging, but let's first look at what those risks are. So with hourly work, clients are much more responsible for the way time is used, right? You're not going to just have a chatty meeting and keep going off topic if you know you're talking to your attorney and the clock is ticking. You're not going to send lengthy emails, paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs that take 30 minutes to read, 40 minutes to craft a response to your attorney if you know you're being billed hourly, right? So with hourly fees, the risk to the client is, hey, what is my project going to cost? The designer should be able to tell you where your project is going to land, even if you are working hourly. But the client concern is, what is the final number going to be? And the responsibility for how that time is used, of course, always the designer has to be responsible for time use, but the client is also held accountable for how time is used. That is the risk. The reward is that the client is held responsible for how time is used. So as a designer, if you are engaged by a client who's very indecisive, can't make a decision, They're going to run up their design fees, aren't they? If you're engaged by a client who wants to revisit decisions after they've been made, that's going to run up client billable, isn't it? So the good part, or the positive side of hourly from where I sit, and as I watch designers work this way, as I look at my own company, it holds clients accountable. And really, in any design project, and we're going to talk about fixed fee, everybody's accountable. Everybody shows up to the table with responsibilities. Designers, you show up with a lot of roles and responsibilities. But clients, if you're watching, you show up with a couple of roles and responsibilities in your project too. But anyway, risks and rewards of different ways of charging. So with hourly, the risk is that a client doesn't know exactly where her or his billing is going to end. And also, and that's the concern, I should say, if it's not done right by the client, by the designer. And also, designers, when they're working hourly, have told horror stories of clients not paying final invoices, or clients questioning time use. How long did it take you to do this? You spent how much time doing that? And I have heard nightmares from a lot of colleagues that I mastermind with about being nitpicked on their invoices. Again, I think if you're charging hourly, there's a way to do it so that you don't run into that. But we're just talking about the risks right now, risks and then the upside. So again, the upside is it keeps clients accountable for time use. Fixed fee. Now with fixed fee, a designer has to look at a project, the total service that she or he believes will be required, and project a fee against that. The upside, there are a few. For the client, they see a fixed number. They know exactly where their design fee is going to land, so they can work in their budgeting in their own mind. You know, who else do I want to bring in as a painter or whatever? What builder am I using? How much purchasing am I doing for furnishings? And the client has a sense of comfort with many fixed fee programs because they believe that they know where their fees are going to land. But there are some caveats. First, though, that's an upside. Also for designers, designer knows exactly what the value of a project is going to be. You know that you're going to have a certain type of cash flow into your company because you know exactly, you've spelled it out with your client. This is what that fee will be. Again, I think if you do hourly right, I think you can do the same thing, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Or getting into a different live. The risks with fixed fee, however, is that if a designer lets a client into her practice who is not decisive, that client will start to chew up time that a designer never would have predicted would have been happening, and the design time is going to go up, but the fee isn't changing. So if a client does not use time well, if a client is indecisive, if a client changes their mind a lot, if a client is chatty, if a client uses a lot of email time, excessive phone time, that is something that a designer may not have accounted for properly. So a designer can potentially work below her rate, her standard rate or his standard rate, because it was bid fixed fee and the client was kind of falling outside of that. Now, depending upon how the fixed fee agreement is set up, it is possible, client, it should be actually set up, if it's done well, that there's a very set parameter of what that project, what the scope of service will be in that fixed fee, so that you as a client know, oh, I get this number of selection rounds. This is what is being done for me. So if I'm with my designer and say, hey, can we also add such and such? You can, but now you're going to accumulate hourly fees on top of your fixed fee. At least that's the wise way to do it if a client is falling outside of their scope. Ditto if a client starts to fall outside of their scope of whatever parameter a designer has set. So just be very careful in the way you write a fixed fee scope if you are a designer. Make sure you are projecting for the type of client behavior you are anticipating from a client. With a new client, it can be a little trickier. Make sure you have parameters set in place for what happens if a client goes beyond the stated parameters as well. And then the last thing I will say too, an upside for fixed fee is that you don't have clients looking at time charges because they're seeing a flat fee for their project. So they're not going to say, hey, how much time did it take you to do X, or what kind of value did you apply to Y? Here in our company, we have a very unique and specific to us way of calculating what a project, we have a great project calculator we use, and it assigns numeric values to things. So we can really project where our projects are going to land. If you are a designer and you're trying to figure this out for yourself, the first thing you have to do is you have to start recording the type of work you are doing on a project, so that at the end of a project, you are analyzing how much time did I spend on project management, how much was client service, how much was expediting, how much was creative development, how much was travel, how much were meetings. So you want to make sure that you know how to bid a project really accurately based upon your prior performance with your work. So as a designer, what's the better way for you to charge? Well, how controlled are you in your processes? And how much history do you have to be able to draw upon how you've worked in the past so that you can accurately project a job now if you're thinking of fixed fee. So those are just a couple of pros and cons, risks and benefits for both sides of the aisle, for client and designer. I think that there's a way to do it on either side to make it as controlled for everybody involved as possible. And I do think there's a third model, which I don't really have time to drill down into, but I think there's a third model that's sort of a hybrid and starts to blend certain elements of each. So hopefully that answers the question I constantly get: should I charge fixed fee? Should I charge hourly? And this is just a quick drill down, which is what we like to do in our Facebook and Instagram lives. I do want to let you know, though, that we're going to be launching an amazing designer coaching program for design businesses, so you can just build your most successful and joyous business. If you want to learn more about that, I suggest you get onto our mailing list, get a hold of my design success business checklist, or I said that wrong, my successful design business checklist. My Successful Design Biz Checklist, actually, is what I called it. I knew I'd get that name right. Third time's the charm. Get onto the mailing list to grab that copy of that checklist. It's brimming with great stuff. If you are in business 7 years or less, there will be content there for you to check yourself against. Or if you're a new business, or if you are thinking of getting started, a lot of great meat in there for you as well. And that will also put you onto my mailing list, so that I will be sending you more support in every month, from business to mindset and so forth, to keep you really focused on your success and growing your success. And you'll also be one of the first to hear when we are launching our program, so you can get an invitation to learn more about that. Alrighty, so there it is. So if you have any questions, and I posted the link in the description for this live on Facebook, and you can go to the link on Insta. So if there are no questions for designers, I'm totally fine to just wrap early and get to my next meeting. So let's see. Getting hellos from people, hellos from Oklahoma and Dallas and Boston, Mallorca. Wow, that's like pretty great too. So there's all kinds of, we've got people from all over the globe here. So Sandra is saying, when I charge by the hour, meetings are to the point, but I'm missing rapport building. I'm missing rapport building chats. How do you deal with that? You build rapport, and if you're charging by the hour, I think that's perfectly fine to say to a client, if it gets if you've finished the meeting, you've done the work of the work that needs to be done, and now you're talking about their son moving to Austin or whatever, then you say, okay, listen, we're off the clock. Let's catch up a little bit. Tell me, how did that college entry exam go? Or how did whatever happened with your daughter's wedding? How did that go? Let the client know you're off the clock and you want to spend 5 minutes or 10 minutes just kind of, connecting with them and seeing what they're all about. And certainly, Sandra, I'm sure, knowing you as I do, that you bring a warmth to your meetings, and working in that way, I don't feel that a client won't have that relationship building happening. It also starts when you're first vetting a client. They think they're vetting you, but you're vetting them right back. And that's when dialogue is happening and you're learning about them as well. So in a meeting, you can say something like, Suzanne, of course we had to put this in here for you because we know you love flowers so much. So this abstract of a floral seemed like a great option as a painting for you. So letting your clients know that they're meaningful to you, they matter to you as people, that they're people, not just numbers, not just clients. Super important to do that as well. So I don't think you have to trade out, relationship building for if you're charging hourly. I think that's the wrong approach. And I think you're being short-sighted if you're doing that. And again, be willing to say, hey, let's just get off the clock for a sec. We're done. Tell me about how the recitals go, or how did graduation go. Make sense? I hope that does. Give me a thumbs up if that makes sense for you. So the way designers charge has a lot to do with your confidence level. It has to do with your understanding of your own efficiencies. And it has to do with the business model that you're most comfortable with. And I think it's good to experiment, seeing what's best for you. And, be willing. You might try a fixed fee project, love it, or say, never again. But I think you should be willing to give it a try. And in our coaching program, I will be diving deeply into how to do these calculables, as well as some hybrid models that take the best of all possible worlds. So if you're a designer and you would love to have some coaching support, get on our mailing list. Definitely get that checklist, and you'll be one of the first to know when we're launching. If you missed any portion of this Instagram Live and Facebook Live, you can always find us on YouTube as the Interior Design Advocate. That's the Interior Design Advocate on YouTube, ready for you. If you'd like to follow us at our teaching brand, that would be at decorating.genius. That's our Interior Design Advocate brand, at decorating.genius. You guys are already there, which is why you're on with me now. But you may not be following me at my luxury design company. I run a luxury design company. We're very busy. We're an in-demand company, and we're a highly profitable company, which is why I'm delighted to be launching our coaching program for designers across the country, so I can share with you what I've done as a creative, as an empath, to be able to build quite a large and successful company, and to do it in as joyful and empowered a manner as possible. So I don't see any other questions coming in right now. I don't think. Do I? Oh, I got to scroll. I'm scrolling. Sorry. Hello. Scrolling. Amrita saying, how do retainers work? That's a great question. So a retainer, to me, is a statement of good faith. It is a client saying, yes, we're going to be paying you. No, you don't have to worry about being paid on a timely basis. So what I do, and what I suggest you do, is I suggest that you take your design fee and you break it into a payment schedule, and you take a fee down against the work that you'll be doing. Now, in the interior design industry, unlike perhaps, I don't know if you're working as a trainer hourly with someone. In the interior design industry, a tremendous amount of intellectual property and legwork happens up front in a project at the beginning. So when we have a design fee in front of a client in our company, they draw down on a lot of that fee in the first third of their project, and then their hourly drawdown, or their service drawdown, starts to slow down. So you want to, as a designer, make sure that your retainer is going to cover the type of drawdown that you anticipate you're going to have. I'm working with a client now who has several residences around the world, and they're very used to dealing with designers. So they understood my fee structure and how my payment structure worked. Another client who's brand new to working with designers, and he said, hey, how come my retainer is as big as it is, if I'm kind of paying in advance for the work you're going to be doing? I said, that's right, you are, because I am a knowledge worker, and the intellectual property you are purchasing from me, once it's out of the tube, like a tube of toothpaste, I can't put it back in. So there's a very clear drawdown of funds, I should say, or retainer. So the retainer is an upfront payment. Very often it's a bit of a front load into your project, if that makes sense. Okay, Amrita, if you have a follow-up question, pop it in there. Amrita's saying, okay, my previous designer worked hourly. The new one asked for a retainer, but I only need her as a consultant here and there. I assumed we would work from the retainer, but instead she sends me bills for hours. What am I not understanding? Well, that's odd. So Amrita, I think that your new designer should have drafted a scope of work with you. And if you have a retained amount on tap with her, or on account with her, I should say, and she's working with you on an as needed consulting basis, you should only be getting statements that say, I'm making this up. You know, you had a retainer of $1,500 after our last meeting. This, you know, your account now has, you know, $1,200 on account. So you should have an accounting on, and something the way you're talking about with your designer. I'd ask to just see an accounting of how the bill is being drawn down. As a designer, I think that's what I would do if I worked in that manner, where I was just letting somebody put me on retainer so that they could just, you know, work with me an hour here, an hour there. I think that's a really hard way for designers work. I don't recommend it. I think it's an impossible way to make a living, but there are all kinds of different design companies out there, and some people just want a part-time company. So a part-timer, or somebody who doesn't want to work a full gig, might be doing hourly consulting. But if you're doing hourly consulting, I think there's a better way to do it so that the client isn't confused, and so the designer is really, as a designer, you're really controlling what that process is and what it looks like. And the other thing, designers, you've got to manage your clients' expectations. I was just talking to one of our designers here in our company today who was complimenting how I manage client expectations and how I deal with clients. I think it's very important to manage expectations so everybody knows what to expect, what's happening, when it's going to happen, why it's going to happen. As a designer, you want to get out in front of it so there aren't questions or unhappy moments after the fact, right? So let people know this is the process. This is how my process works. This is how billing works. This is how your project is going to go. Manage those expectations, and you won't have those billing questions. Kay is saying, this was so helpful. I've decorated my sister's condos in Florida, and owners have asked me what I would charge to do theirs. Now I have some kind of info about what I might do. Thanks. I'm so glad, Kay. Billing and how to bill is really, it's a challenge, and it takes designers a while when they start their own company to really get their arms around it, what works best, what you're most comfortable with. And I think every one of us out here in the trenches has tried something that just didn't work as well as we might have hoped. And so you learn for next time. There's an expression in the design industry that every policy you have came from a client experience, and it's true. So every client, every policy, every protocol that you have. So, all right. So last call on questions. I think I've pretty much gotten to everybody. These are some great questions. So thank you so much. Katie, any questions coming in? No, I think we got you all. So here's what I want you to know. You know what the topic is next week? Nothing. You know what the topic is the week after? Nothing again, because we are taking 2 weeks off. Yes, it is vacation time here in the Rockies. So we'll make sure, if you're on our mailing list, we'll make sure we remind you when we're coming back out here, but taking some much needed time off. So I hope that you will have a beautiful 2 weeks. It has been wonderful being here with you. And I look forward to seeing you guys again in 2 weeks. So in the meantime, happy 4th and hugs and kisses. Take care. Bye-bye. Hi, this is Donna. Thanks so much for watching. And if you like this video, please hit the like button and comment below so I know what you think. And don't forget to subscribe to the Interior Design Advocates channel so you don't miss any of our great content.